Hi everybody, my name is David. Welcome to my channel, My Yard Sale. Hey, today I want to talk about something that I've learned that I think may have derailed my metabolic recovery from diabetes, prediabetes, and other just metabolic issues. And the interesting thing about this is I think even some of the folks that subscribe to my channel here have maybe even brought it up previously. I didn't have enough knowledge of the subject, or I didn't completely understand the implications. And what that was brought to my attention that I didn't look into as much as I did just recently is saturated fat. We obviously all need fats in our diet. We need we need protein, fat, some will say fiber, but this thing with saturated fats, like I didn't completely understand the differences between fats and how they affect our bodies differently, and quite frankly, how it could be negatively impacting my reversal. And now I'm thinking that it's drastically impacted my reversal. So, saturated fats, how I was eating saturated fats, is I was eating a lot of burger patties. I would still be eating burger patties, to be honest. I just, um, I just, I've realized now that I think it's the saturated fats that were just holding me back and from progressing and healing. And quite frankly, I think just deteriorating my case. Saturated fats, if you're not sure what saturated fats are, these are fats they get more solid as they cool down. And again, I would buy pretty um, pretty fatty burgers and just ground beef. And I felt completely safe doing that because I had seen so much literature online where they talk about eating fat and high fat is good, and I'm not saying that it isn't or that it shouldn't be, but I think that that's if you're eating steaks that have a lot of fat. Like eating the fat out of a steak is different than eating fat out of high fat ground beef. Like the fat in ground beef is saturated fat. That's the fat they mix into the ground beef to give it flavor and to give it moistness, or whatever reason they mix so much fat into, to probably cheapen it down, make it cheaper. Because obviously high fat ground beef is always cheaper than low fat ground beef. So they probably add all the fat just to make it cheaper. And then there's a lot of health specialists that will say that the fat is good for you. And again, I'm not saying that it isn't, but I think if it's part of a steak or in a steak, it's different than if it's just mixed fat in with ground beef. So I think that this fat is what's been keeping me from continuing my reversal and getting and healing and getting better. I read a lot of information online about how saturated fat can increase inflammation, which I think I've said enough times on this channel that I thought I was dealing with glycation, which probably still is partially the fact, considering the fact I was such a sugar fiend for so long. Quite frankly, I still like sugar. I could eat sugar every day. I mean, I could eat sugar every day, let's just say that. But when I do eat sugar, it's different than if I eat 3 ground beef patties. Like it's different. Like when I eat sugar, it makes me have to go to the bathroom. It it definitely causes me problems with insulin resistance. It definitely affects my mobility a little bit, but when I eat a lot of ground beef and the saturated fats, I I need to sleep. I got to sleep it off. It's not something that I can just work off with working out or trying to do some push-ups to work it out. It's like, I don't know, the saturated fat gets into your stomach and your body has to, work through it. It's not like you can just burn off the fat. Your body has to process it. And all that fat in my stomach would just put me to sleep. But anyways, I think that the saturated fat has been causing me inflammation, and that may have been more of what I was feeling was glycation. That saturated fat may have been causing most of my physical problems. At least I think. I'm not sure. So now I'm trying to eat more deli meat, low fat deli meat. I'm eating low fat turkey. Thanks to thanks Magnus. Thanks for the suggestion. Very helpful and actually quite delicious. And I can probably eat deli meats for the long term. I think it's easier for me to eat deli meats than it is for me to try to cook ground beef. I actually enjoy the deli meats more than I like the burger patties. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like burger patties, but I like the deli meats too. I can eat like a little piece of bread or even a tortilla or something, you know, small and thin, and eat the deli meats and get full off of the protein in the meat versus any stuff that I would add to it. So I'm enjoying the deli meats, and they're very low saturated fat. I'm buying very low fat, or very low fat, or just the deli meats in general are lower fat. There's no saturated fat. It's not. There's no there's no fat when it's at room temperature. There's no fat. I mean, there's fat in the meat, I'm sure, but there's a lot less fat than in a burger patty. So I'm thinking that the saturated fat over the last 5 years of my life, eating so much burger patties, and just ground beef in general, I'm feeling like that could have continued on or even escalated my insulin resistance and really my diabetes effects. I mean, you would think that if you have diabetes and high A1Cs is the issue, when you stop eating sugar for the most part, like things should resolve and get better. And for a very long time for me, they there were minor things that got better, but for the most part, my physical problems did not really get better. And as a matter of fact, they probably got worse. I think the more ground beef I was eating, the more saturated fat I was eating, the worse it was getting. And I don't know how that works if it like I don't know exactly what reverses that, or if stop eating so much saturated meat will reverse it and what that reversal will feel like, but I'm not exactly sure how that works. But I do feel like at one point I was feeling better. I watched some videos on YouTube about eating just meat, eating ground beef, and mainly switching to carnivore, but not necessarily carnivore with low saturated fat, mostly just carnivore, ground beef and just carnivore. And after that, I definitely did not get better. I mean, I've always, yeah, so I've always liked to have some cookies or have something sweet now and then, but for the most part, my primary nutritional input was beef, ground beef. And even going back 5 years, I can think back to when like things just progressively got worse, continued to get worse, and maybe just didn't get better for a very long time. So again, I'm not saying that carnivore is the wrong thing to do. I mean, if I was trying to lose weight, I would switch to carnivore immediately because I can lose 3 to 5 pounds in a week switching from keto to carnivore. All the water weight that you get in your body and everything, when you switch to carnivore, your body just sheds all that water weight, and Like I think that carnivore is perfect for losing weight. Maybe carnivore would be different if I was able to eat the right meat. If I was able to eat um, just different steaks and different meat besides high fat ground beef. I mean, I don't know if I don't know how much it would affect me if I were to eat, like I don't know, 10% ground beef or 1% ground beef. I don't know how much that would affect me differently. I hope for the better. I mean, I hope to eat burgers again soon, but I know that eating 30/70 ground beef was not making my insulin resistance, my metabolic issues any better. In a lot of cases, it was making it worse because I would actually feel a little bit better even having sugar in my life. And then as soon as I felt like I needed to switch back to carnivore and eat ground beef, my health would deteriorate like almost overnight. I mean, if I ate 3 burger patties, which if that's all I was eating is burger patties, like that's maybe quite a good amount of ground beef and probably a decent amount of saturated fat. Like immediately when I got done eating, my health did not get better, it got worse. It would make that insulin resistance and just um just the metabolic issues that I was having, it would make them much worse. So I think that there's definitely a whole bunch of people that are eating carnivore thinking that they're getting healthier and getting better. And in some cases, maybe they are, but I think anybody with any kind of insulin resistance or metabolic issues besides just A1C or weight gain, I think that carnivore may not be the right thing. I think that maybe low fat carnivore. I watched another documentary on, I can't remember where the guy was, but it was, I don't remember exactly. I thought he was in Japan or somewhere in an Asian country. But this guy had said that eating sugar, rice, and orange juice, that was his prescription to the people he was working with. And he reversed like hundreds of cases of diabetes with rice, sugar, and orange juice. Like 3 things that I would have not touched in the last 3 years, thinking that that was the worst thing ever. But this guy supposedly reversed all this diabetes with just those 3 things as his diet, which is probably very similar to what that guy Ray Peat that I had talked about months ago, and one of you guys suggested actually that that was the Ray Peat diet, sugar and I don't remember if he said orange juice, but I remember he said juice, um, but sugar and carbohydrates, and so I've been doing some research on that Ray Peat diet and this other guy's diet again, and that very low saturated fat. That's the same thing that both those diets focused on, outside of the fact that they were eating sugar and carbohydrates. And so maybe, and I can see my body actually not well, not reacting well to a ton of sugar. Like if I add sugar into my diet, which I did, like I still have metabolic insulin resistance issues, but they're less of an issue than when I eat a lot of ground beef burger patties. Like that causes me more problems than the sugar does. So I'm kind of like thinking that this saturated fat thing, the fat in burger patties, not the fat in steak, that's very different, but the fat in burger patties and burger meat in general, that could be a big part of the problem that I've been having, and maybe that could be a big problem of what a lot of people have in life in general. So the thing that I've been reading on and understanding about is the that fat in ground beef can cause more insulin resistance, but mostly what they say a lot of it causes a lot of inflammation. And the inflammation has definitely been a major issue that I've been dealing with, to the point where I thought it was glycation. And again, I think it partially for me is glycation, but for the most part, I think it's just the saturated fats and and the inflammation that it causes. There's a lot of documentation on Google talking about saturated fats and inflammation, and even the how it is the beginning parts of not causing diabetes, but making diabetes worse. So I thought that was very interesting, and so yeah, I'm trying something new again, getting the saturated fats out of my diet, which means yeah, I'm kind of done with burger patties for a little bit until I can figure something out there. And I'm hoping that in the next month, eating much less saturated fat, I'll hopefully be able to see some kind of a real reversal, a reversal that I'll feel besides just knowing what I'm doing. I would like to be able to feel it, or to see my body actually responding to the difference. So hopefully I'll have some good news in the next couple of weeks, in the next month, of some good news of how getting saturated fats out of my diet actually is reversing my physical situation. I hope. We'll see. Anyways, I hope this is kind of an interesting post. I think that for most people, this is probably not going to be interesting at all. But there's going to be a couple people that are going to be like, aha, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Now, I will say that the folks on this channel have talked about saturated fats and how saturated fats are not good for your diet for a very long time. And I think there's a couple of you guys that have made more, more solid points on those facts that I didn't, I didn't disregard. I just didn't completely understand it. It didn't make sense to me totally, which doesn't even now totally make sense, but it makes more sense now than it did, 5 years ago. But some of you guys, I think, definitely nailed it down and probably figured out what part of the problems that I've been having with my metabolic issues. Now, of course, going back in time, I think the sugar probably didn't do me a whole lot of good, even though I enjoyed it. But I think that the sugar was definitely the first round of issue. And then as I slowly took the sugar out of my diet, I followed right up with saturated fat burgers and just high fat beef, which very possibly just kept me in the same situation that I was even when I was eating sugar. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, I just wanted to drop this note real quick, let everybody know that subscribing, what's going on with me. I didn't post yesterday. I missed a post yesterday. One of the strange things that I'm having lately is I still have like kind of pretty bad neuropathy in my hands and my joints, really, like my elbows and my knees. Um, they're kind of getting very snappy again, but I am starting to get that like crunchy noise in my joints, where it sounds like it's the stuff getting, I don't know, the protein or the fibers in there are getting kind of broken up. Hopefully, it means that getting the sugar back out of my diet again, and just in general, kind of straightening out my diet without the saturated fats and without the sugar. Maybe I'll be able to get some of this glycation or this crunchy noises out of my system. One of the other kind of strange things is I have been sleeping like a rock. I can't even explain how hard I've been sleeping. Like sometimes I have a hard time going to sleep at night, But boy, when I get to sleep, I sleep so hard for, in some cases, even 8 to 10, maybe even 12 hours sometimes. I can sleep so hard all night once I finally get to sleep that like I think that's just, even if I set an alarm, I have a hard time getting up with the alarm. I just kind of keep sleeping, and it's very well, it feels kind of good, but it kind of sucks. I got stuff I got to do. It's nice around where I'm living lately in upstate. It's finally starting to get warm again. I still have a heat going, but the heat is just mainly heat the inside of my house up. Outside, it's actually warm enough. I think it's 70 today, which is kind of nice. It feels good. I'm going to open up some windows, I think, let some of the warmth in. So I'm happy to say that the temperatures are maybe starting to even out a little bit, even though they're kind of chilly at night still. The temperatures are starting to feel nice. Hopefully, I'll be able to get into summer here sometime soon. So that's good news. But yeah, this health thing. Again, I think you guys, like, I know that you guys had mentioned saturated fats and how bad they were in the past. And of course, I believed it, but I didn't understand it and I didn't research it. Now, doing a little bit more research on my end, and research for me is looking up YouTube videos and Googling things, just spending the time to look it up. But the more that I'm looking into this whole thing with saturated fats, the more I'm realizing that that may be a bigger issue than I thought it was. So I think that switching to much lower saturated fats proteins, which part of the protein I'm eating now is quite a bit of pea protein, which I'm not hating it. I just get kind of sick of pea shakes. Even with sweetener, I'm not like a I mean, I'm not a huge fan of pea shakes, pea protein shakes, I should say, so that people don't think, cut this up and make it weird that there's things called pea shakes, because there isn't. Pea protein shakes. So switching more to pea protein shakes and very low fat proteins like, I don't know, turkey, or even low fat ham I like eating too, and some cheese. Hopefully those being a major part of my diet will make things a little bit easier. I may try those turkey burgers too. And I keep trying to convince myself that I need to eat some canned fish. I just can't seem to get myself to do it. I'm trying to figure out how I can make it so that I'm excited to eat, a can of sardines, and I just can't seem to. I was never a huge fan of tuna. I'm not a huge fan of thinking about how delicious canned sardines can be. I'm just trying to find some videos online that kind of inspire me to try canned sardines. But when I do eat canned sardines, I'll let you guys know. I'll shoot you a note. I am going to be adding some more reviews on this channel of foods that I've found on Walmart actually that are more high protein. Like they're not the best meals, but they're not the worst meals. And I actually bought quite a few of them, and I'm going to review those in upcoming posts. So if that interests you and you're subscribed, check out those posts. If you're not subscribed, do me a favor and subscribe, because I think that there's going to be some foods that some folks are going to be interested in. Anyways, hope you're having a great day. Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks for your time. Have a good time. Bye bye.